Hey, what is up guys, I'm Exteria, and in this video, I am going to teach you guys how to play one of the most easiest reroll comps in the current meta, which is Kayle. This comp is actually really powerful playing the base 6 Juggernaut board, but I can show you a different way how to play Kayle when you hit level 9. You swap out of Juggernauts into 6 Wraiths. Before we get into it, you can click this guide in the description below, and this allows me to make stuff way faster and way easier since Google Slide takes a lot of time to make stuff. So when we scroll down on this guide, we're going to go to the Kayle BIS items, and her best in slot is going to be Gwynsu's Rage Blade, which is her core item. If you don't have Gwynsu's Rage Blade on Kayle, she cannot perform well at all, meaning that she will not do any damage. So there is no other way to substitute this item. You have to have Gwynsu's Rage Blade on her no matter what. Second to that, you can flex around between Jewel Gauntlet or Death Cap, but I prefer Jewel Gauntlet. I feel like it's the best thing to put on Kayle because this item allows her to do a lot of damage since she is a magic damage user and her auto attacks also do magic damage. This item allows her auto attacks to crit even more. And when you hit level 6 to throw out the wave, those can also crit as well with Jewel Gauntlet. So that's the reason why it's the second best item you can put on her. And if you want to amplify that Guard Breaker, Strikers, or how I like to call it, Guard Breaker, it's the best to amplify the crit with Jewel Gauntlet. And on top of that, it also gives you more amp every time you auto attack. So therefore, these are her best in slot. But you can flex around Guard Breaker if you want. Like Flicker Blade is really good, or something like Gambler's Blade is also really strong, or Static. These three are artifact items, and Sniper's Focus I wouldn't say is the best to put on her, but if you don't have any other choice to put item on Kayle, then Snipers would be okay. Just don't expect her to do a lot of damage with this item. For regular items, instead of using Guard Breaker, you can use Hextech Gunblade. It's actually really good because it allows you to heal the board, and it does decent amount of damage. Speaking of damage, Giant Slayer is probably the third best item you could put on her that is not Guard Breaker, because this allows you to kill tanks a lot faster. Unless you just want regular like base AP items on her, you can with Death Cap and Archangel Staff. These are fine as well. Now scrolling down a bit to Zac's BIS, always build Spirit. This is his core item. If you don't have Spirit on him, he cannot out-sustain long enough. He's not your normal tank where he could just sit there and just be a wall. He needs to heal a lot. To put it in simple terms, his armor and magic resist is kind of low, so therefore, the more health you have, the better he is. And he also scales with health. And he can convert that health into damage as well. So Spirit will be really good for him overall, since it can heal him and it'll give him more damage. Second to that would be Gorgo's Stoneplate, which is a really good resistance item. If you can build somehow Dragon's Claw and Bramble, then it would be preferred over Gargoyles. But in most games, it's kind of hard to build those. So I would say always build Spirit, and second to that would be Gargoyles, but you can flex into the Declaw and Bramble. And third, you can build whatever health item, like for example Warmongs, it's fine. You can flex around his third item, like for example Innervating Lock is really good. It makes him heal a lot more and has really good health stats. Or the Indomitable. This will allow him to pull units into him, so he could just hit them as well. Or this one is really good, Gargoyle Stoneplate Substitute, which is Light Shield Crest, because it gives more armor and magic resist to your board. And yes, these three are artifacts. So if you somehow could get an artifact, these would be pretty decent for Zac. And then for your best third item would be like Warmongs or Sunfire. If you need anti-heal, this is great to do. Or if you cannot have a belt item for whatever reason, Steadfast Horse is pretty decent overall because it gives you some health and it also gives you some damage reduction, meaning he will last a lot longer in fights. Or Dragon's Claw is okay in the current meta, since there is a lot of magic damage flying around everywhere. Say for example going against Gwyn's, then Dragon's Claw helps him stay alive a lot longer, and it also gives him health regen on top of that. And then the last item you can probably build if you have to build it, Bramble is okay. It's best if you go against like a lot of 80 units. So this means that like if you have like 4 people in a lobby or more are all playing 80 comps, then having a Bramble would help Zac stay alive longer. I'm going to show this part in Team Builder, but if you want to check out the guide, you can see it here, and this will be a lot easier to look at. The cool thing about this site though is that you can click on alternative comps, and if you want to see what you can build with whatever items you have currently, it can show different ways of playing it. This is not what I made, this is what the site did. If you want a gameplay video of how I played this comp, you can look for this thumbnail here in my YouTube channel. Alright, so for our openers, the best one would be with Kayle and Zac. The direction you want to play this is if you have bows, so you can build Gwynsu's Rage Blade, or if you have the rod component, then hopefully you can get it on Carousel, a bow, since most likely you're probably going to lose early game for a bit, since you don't have really strong board at the moment. But the other direction would be have some sort of belt item to make either Spirit or Sunfire or Warmongs. First item slam on Zac, that'll be fine to do as well. So essentially, the core items is Spirit and Rage Blade for your units. And then the third unit we can play here would be an Aatrox because it gives us both heavyweight, and we can play Juggernauts later down the line. From here, you're not really going to win at all since we don't have Duelist, and you don't want to level at all either. Main reason why is because we want to save all our gold so we can 3-star our Kayle and our Zac. And then once we hit level 4, Our fourth unit, the cheapest one we can buy is Neferi, but if you're lucky enough to have an Udyr on drop, this is really good, and this will power up your board super hard because it gives us Duelist, it gives us Juggernaut, and it also gives us Mentor, which is Udyr's Mentor, is you do extra damage on the board. Then from here, once you 3-star your Kayle and your Zac, then you can level up over time. The thing I forgot to mention is if you can't find Udyr, you can use GP until you find Udyr, and then when you hit level 5, you can just use Neferi or whatever Juggernaut you can find as well. And then as you're leveling up over time, most likely you might find that Udyr. And then level 7, if you have the Fruit Ascension, this will be pretty good because it upgrades your Kayle even more. For your 7th unit, you can throw out one more Juggernaut because we have 3. So this allows us to have an even tankier board. It could be either Mundo or a Vi. The tip I can give here is when you're rolling for 3-star Kayle and Zac, don't pick up Mundos and Vi. They're kind of a waste of money. You're not gonna 3-star them. They take up bench slots. And on top of that, when we do hit level 9, we want to play a different board to win the game overall. So this is the board we want to play at level 7, and then level 8 you can throw in whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can throw in a Smolder if you want with Lulu, and then just turn her into a Smolder so that you have anti-heal on the board. So he'll be a really good like +1 unit to have at level 7. And then when you hit level 8, you can play either these two things. The first style is 6 Juggernauts, which is the base board, and the last 2 Juggernauts you can put in is Set, which will give you Soul Fighter with Neferi, and you can throw out your last Juggernaut, which is either Vi or Mundo. So from here, you have a super tanky board that can reach you all the way to level 9, or for whatever reason, if you are too low on HP, maybe you might have to roll down on 8, 2-star everything, and maybe place for top 5 or top 6. In some games, you might have to do that. But majority of the time when you're playing Kayle, you should be win streaking, like late game. So when you do hit level 9, you want to play a different board later. But the other style I would like to show here is, this is what I like to do, because having 6 Juggernaut with a bunch of 1-star units, which is most likely going to be a Set 1-star and maybe an Udyr 1-star if you can't hit them level 2, it's going to be pretty useless to have because they just die immediately. So most of the time I don't put in Set, and I put one or the other in, either Vi or Mundo. It doesn't really matter. They're both the same basically. It's just as long as you have 4 Juggernaut. And I like to throw in a Jhin and a Malzahar, or either a Cassante. I flex either one of these. Most likely I like these units the most to throw in, but if I can't find Cassante, then Jhin is fine. As long as you have 4 Wraith. Since they buffed it this patch, it hits very hard, so you can keep winning rounds with. And then when you do hit level 9 with either style, then you want to pivot your board completely. So this means you want to sell your Aatrox, your Neferi, and your Mundo. There's a reason why you don't want to 3-star the other units, because at level 9, Kayle becomes online, and you want her to do even more damage, so therefore you have to play 6 Wraith, so she can one-shot the board, and she has a secondary carry later down the line, which is Vars. So whatever leftover 80 items, for example, if you have IE, he will just come online with just this one item. Or if you have leftover items, like for example, these gloves, this also works too. It's fine on him. And then from here, to fill up the synergies, because you still need heavyweight, having a Poppy is really good for that. And she's a 4-cost unit, and she also CCs. And then the other unit you can throw in with Poppy is going to be a Nico, because she is Protector with Cassante. So therefore, you have a lot of synergies here. You have 2-star Guardian, therefore, both Nico and Poppy are going to heal a lot, and your backline has decent amount of damage here. So this will be the max cap board. And if somehow you hit level 10, then you can just throw out Seraphine for that extra Prodigy, and you have extra stats on both Poppy and Nico. And if you want to upgrade Udyr, you can upgrade the Udyr with the Lee Sin, and you turn him into a Duelist. So you can still have that Duelist on the board. Most of the time, I like to keep the Udyr in level 2 because I feel like Lee Sin 1 is kind of useless. But it's up to you if you want to swap out Udyr 2 for Lee Sin 1. But yeah, essentially this is basically it, how to play the board. For the best augments you can pick, Prismatic Ticket will be really good because this allows you to 3-star both your Zac and your Kayle really easy. But if you can't get that, then you can do something like Raining Gold. This allows you to gain more econs. You can roll for Zac 3 and Kayle 3. And on top of that, you can also hit level 9 because you get extra gold income that you can use for XP. If you want to guarantee Gambler's Blade, All That Shimmers is a really good augment for that if you want an artifact item on Kayle. And speaking of artifacts, Portal of Forge gives you a chance to gain really powerful items for either Kayle or Zac, so this is really good. And I would say the best combat augments are anything to do with healing. Like for example, last second save, you heal if you fall below a certain amount of HP, and it's actually really good on Zac because it makes him last longer on the board. And also, since you don't have lifesteal on KO, this helps her out as well to stay alive longer. Or you can do a second wind, which will heal your whole entire board with an insane amount of HP after 10 seconds. For your fruits for KO, I would say the best one to play around might be Wrapping Rage. This fruit is basically like Flicker Blades or the old Gunsoo's Rage Blade, where every time you auto attack, you gain more attack speed. So this is actually really good on KO. Or you can do something like Surge 66, where every time you auto attack, you gain a certain buff. And when you auto attack a certain amount of time, it doubles. And it doubles again if you auto attack a certain amount of time for the second time. So this fruit is actually really powerful for Kayle as well. Unless you want a utility one, if you're powerful enough that you don't need these combat ones, then you could look for something like Frost Touch where you can CC the board. This fruit is actually really powerful in Kayle because it allows her to stun like almost everything, so she's gonna auto attack a lot anyways. So it's up to you if you want to take Frost Touch. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's just if you're super ahead, it's pretty good. Or if you want to do a regular Kayle one, Final Ascent is actually really good on her. If you can last long enough to hit level 10, level 7 is pretty good as well because for every 3 auto attacks, you gain more ability power. And if you do hit level 10, it's a pretty easy top 2. For Zac's fruits, Regenerative is the best one. I would say if you don't have this one on him, you're kind of trolling kind of thing. It's like too powerful for Zac overall because his ability heals and this fruit also heals him, and he also gains more healing from all income sources, so it makes his ability heal even more. If you don't do like a utility one, Pure Heart's pretty good because it heals the whole board in general, and Zac with this fruit would help him stay alive a lot longer as well. If you just want a regular tank, round 2 would be pretty decent overall. It's basically like taking Zilla for the other units. But for Zac, Tankzilla, I would say is not worth it because he can't last that long to pop the Tankzilla stun, which is around 15 seconds. He would die not having either Pure Heart or Regenerative. And then for your last fruit for Zac, Singularity is pretty good as the first fruit you can slam on him because this allows him to gain stacks every time. So he can gain permanent amount of HP. And if you do take out this fruit, I think how it works is you still keep those stacks and you can just choose one of these fruits later. Or you can keep this fruit because you're going to keep stacking a lot anyways if you have your KOs online. For your playstyles, there's 2 different types. The default rerolling is the one that everyone knows. It's pretty easy to do where you just don't level, and at stage 3-1, you just slow roll until you 3-star your KO on Zac, and then you just fast 9 and try to end the game as fast as possible. But this one I like to do is hyper rolling. Sometimes I do this. It's where you want to save as much gold as possible, so intervals by 10, like 10, 20, 30, 40 gold. And then stage 3-1, similar to the same time as just default rerolling, where you want to hyper roll instead, but not hyper roll all the way down to 0 gold. You want to roll down to at least 32 gold. The reason why is because when you do the math, in about 2 turns, you can make back 50 gold anyways. And doing this style allows you to have a higher chance to find 1-cost units this way. Since you're going to be still level 4 at the moment, and the next turn you hit level 5, your percentages on 1-cost units is different. So therefore, doing this, if you want to play aggressively, is actually really good to do. You just save up your gold, and around stage 3-5, which is after Carousel, you can do it again if you want to, or you can just slow roll, either one up to you. And then for whatever reason, if you still don't have KO 3 and Zac 3, at stage 4-1, you should roll down and 3-star them no matter what. But I feel like the comp would be too weak by then, so you might be stuck level 8 afterwards. So I would say most of the time this doesn't happen. So if you didn't 3-star them yet, you can just ignore this part and just hit level 9 as quick as possible to try to end the game. And that is it for almost everything you need to know about Kayle Reroll. If you have any questions about the comp, just leave me in the comment section down below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.